We're going to talk about how we're using AI practically. We have three people on the panel today. I'm not going to read what my slide deck says. Hopefully you can see what it is. Here are the three people on the panel. Chris works at Dragon Snacks Games. Justin is starting a new AI company called Trajectory. I'll let them show what they're doing. And Jesse is working on Druids. So with no further ado, I'm just going to show you videos of how we're doing things. So I work for Noctua Interactive. We're trying to make AAA games with a team smaller than 12. The first game is going to be a Metroidvania game. One of the biggest efforts on that is how can we make a character for less than $10,000. So what you're going to see here is a video that my technical artist made on how we go from this sketch that the intern did to a boned rigged character working in Unreal 5 in 5 hours. So we take it from the sketch and we're using a tool called Invoke. Invoke lets you build a LoRa. So all of the look that we get is from the sketches that my art director made, not coming from the internet. So that look that you found is built by the LoRa that my art director put into Invoke. Then at that point, we just do iterations on the character to get the character that we want to make a T-pose. Probably the longest part of this process is the 3.5 hours it takes to make a character that we're happy with in a T-pose in Invoke. Once we get it into Mixamo and then through Rodin into Mixamo, it's in the engine pretty quick. We're constraining our entire development at Noctua to only use Blueprint Unreal because all that works and we don't have to write custom bespoke code. When we take the art that we're putting in from the Fab store, we look at the UE5 rig. We're using UE5 animations. We're using UE5 materials, UE5 shaders, UE5 lighting. The final look of the art is set in the engine, not in Maya, not in Blender anymore. So we get a T-pose that you can see right here, not shaded, with no lighting on it, so that we can make it look pretty in Unreal. The question to us is, how can we build all our characters for less than $30,000? At my last publisher, we were paying $30,000 to $100,000 for a character to get in the game, and it would take 3 to 6 months because it was the heavy-duty fighting game that needed it. So once we get the rig that already works, and Mixamo already has a UE5 rig, and it all works inside of UE5, we're playing with that character the same day the artist came up with it. And that's the iterative process that we're trying to prove out. So that's just an example of one of the things we're using with AI at Noctua. I use it in production from everything from game design documents to legal documents to write a terms and services. Write me a statement of work is good enough for Amazon. And now my lead level designer doesn't need to take 6 hours to slug through to make a statement of work, right? So there's so many different accelerations. We think at Noctua, this just accelerates our game making process. And because we're a startup, we can do things faster with less people. That's my demo. I'm going to hand it off, only because Trajectory's next. I'm going to hand it off to Justin, who's got an amazing tool that he'll show you that he uses. So go for it, talk about your company.
Yeah, of course. Justin Bailey, Trajectory AI is our company. It's also a startup. We're now working with some of the bigger game developers in the industry, but very small and just started recently. What I have to show you is not much to look at. So this is like my AI engineer developed this form, but let me tell you what's happening in the background. So what we do is we take a Steam store page, and it has about all the information we actually need to go out and grab other information to then forecast what we think the reception of the game will be. So in this one, we're taking Kingdom Come Deliverance. We're taking analogs, finding all the data that we need to run a forecast on it. This is assuming, of course, like this, you go back in time and you're like, hey, before this even launched, what would be the review score on this? And so we ran it, came up with a certain review score at the bottom. You can see we're anticipating it would get at least 57,000 reviews. And then what we're doing now is actually going and doing some seeing what would happen differently if, say, we took like a Game of Thrones IP and overlaid that onto Kingdom Come Deliverance. And this is the idea of like conceptually, like, would that be a good idea? And I'm at the back up now because it kind of moved a little too quickly. And as you can see, like, it actually showed that it would decrease sales to add that IP on. So now to a more kind of real world example. This was using an older model from like a year ago. The stuff I'm about to show you is using our new model, which we just updated. So we take all that data that we actually get, and we actually do different reports, and we look at a low, medium, and a high forecast that we have based on all of our assumptions. And then what we would do is go and get sensitivities, figure out what's really driving sales for the title. Part of this process is the model is actually going out and getting comps. The different types of comps it's getting it has just straight up algorithmic ones. We do image comps based on the screenshots, and then we look and do social comps. From that, we can actually do a report and show, like, if you were to perform in your base, where would you be in the competitive landscape? And then we do a pricing exercise, find out based on what prices, how will that affect sales. Finally, do like a tornado charts on all the different comps that come out to see those games and how they performed and what was driving those sales. And then some comparable conversions. So what this looks like in practice, we actually did this for a game that launched before it launched in the summer. We did a game called Peak. Before it launched, they had a small amount of wish lists. The publisher asked us, hey, can you just run a quick forecast on this, see where it'll end up. So we looked at it and we're like, hey, we think it will sell between, base case will sell between 400,000 units. But if they really nail it and say got like 93% reception score, we think this could sell between 4 and 5 million units. So then if you guys have been following it, Peak did take off. Go to the Steam store page. They did get a 93% on that, and results
Were accurate.
right on. Yeah, so we hit that one. We had another game too, which we hit, which ended up being a huge success. It was under NDA though, so unfortunately I can't share that one.
We're going to use Trajectory at Noctua because we think it's the best forecasting tool to see right now. Next up is Jesse Helton, and he is working for a company called Sage, which is a ride-along tool inside of Unreal.
Hi, I'm Jesse Helton. I am the CTO and one of the co-founders at Druids AI, and we are making Sage. Sage is an in Unreal editor AI-based assistant. It's your expert in Unreal. And so I'll just, in this video, I'm going to show you a montage of Sage extensions that are controlling various plugins. And so we can talk certainly more details about everything else that Sage is. Right here, this person is saying, set me up with a procedural world generator plugin level and use the Pine Forest ecosystem. So instead of taking the hour that it takes to set up to get working, Sage just knows how to do the setup work for you, and you're very quickly set with you can now edit this landscape and start painting your PCG with these assets. So now I want to add a tower into this level, so I'm just going to add a tower, but I want it to look cool. And so I'm just saying, hey, make it bigger, make it taller, make it add the matchy collation, I think it's called, around that. And this is these are just Sage extensions. This is how we've extended the functionality. Now I want a character in my level. Now I want a black eye camera. Black eye camera plugin is a high-end cinematic tool. It's easy to use, but it's 50 pages of documentation to figure out how to use it easily. What we've done is we've sped up that process to just get you going. And so this extension right here is going to just create your camera and look at the player character's face. So the user didn't didn't say where to set the camera, so it just set it nearby. But as you can see, it's all set up, and our attitude at Druids is to take you as a game developer, make you better, make you faster. And so that is our focus on just speeding you up for what you want to do and what you want to accomplish.
Okay, and lastly, it's Chris without a show and tell, but he's working at Dragon Snacks Games. Take it away.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I don't have any videos to show is we probably have the most conservative approach to AI of this particular group. And that's because we've made the decision not to use AI to have any user-facing asset generation. We use AI, but it's for productivity tools, for business intelligence, and to help with our development, but not to make the assets themselves. And the reason is we're in sort of broadly the cozy space, social RPG space, and we're targeting Gen Z and Alpha. Gen Z and Alpha are known, early research shows, one of the things they value most is authenticity. And if I like to think if I'm describing the cozy space to someone, I'm like, well, it's kind of like a fantasy Hallmark movie game, right? Where like you're retreating from the pressures of the big city to go and return to working with your hands in a simpler life, right? So we think we need to live those ideals and be like, we are making these things by hand. This is a bespoke experience. Now, there's a business side of me who knows like games are expensive. We need to figure out how to make games more cheaply, but we figured this is going to be a betrayal to our audience. And when we set up our community, which we already have, we have a Discord. One of the first questions we got is, are the assets going to be made by humans? We will monitor the situation because obviously if there is a change and if we start generating assets based off the concept art that we did internally, we might shift that. But for now, it is all human generated and it's just productivity tools.
So that's it for show and tell. We just wanted to show you guys actual tools that we're using today. They're not that scary. They actually help you. We want to leave it open for questions. So we're going to sit down here. We have a microphone. We use Druids at Noctua. The biggest value as an old producer is my intern asked Druids, why did Adam set up the nodes in the blueprint this way? Why is the architecture this? And he gets an answer and he can move forward. 2 years ago, he set up a meeting with Adam and Adam stopped working for 3 hours while he explained his architecture. That is enough for me to say I'm all in on Druids, right? The productivity of the team, the documentation that you get from Unreal is 6 to 8 months behind the tool, but the Druids tool knows how it works. So you could just ask, how do I get the lighting to work this way? It knows, and it will tell you. So at least you're getting that head start instead of getting in a queue to talk to someone at Unreal for 3.5 hours and figure out you're bypassing all that because the tool is now helping you do it. The application of the productivity tools keeps getting better and better. So we know in 2 years, this is just a great accelerator tool. There's other ride-along tools that we use. We're like Druids the most, mostly because Jesse and I worked long ago on sports games for Microsoft. So we just want to open it up to you guys. We wanted to make this more casual than this is how you should be using AI. Every game is going to be bespoke. Every tool chain is going to be bespoke. How you make your game is going to be different. The tools you need, instead of finding out what AI does, go try to do something and find an AI tool. Then you're faster, right? Going to run 15 different art tools to see which ones. Don't do that. Just go find one. There's plenty of help out there. We just kicked off the Applied AI Association, which is run by the same people that do the AR, VR world, with the whole intent of we're opening up a Discord and we're putting use cases up there and let people ask questions. How can I make a 2D character into a 3D rig quickly, right? We'll just share our workflows because there's no secrets here, right? We want to help accelerate the industry to make better games. So I hope somebody has some questions. Here's one. You're going to get the mic, and then you have to hand it to the next guy. This is what's called what do they call it at Amazon? A system that you never need to maintain anymore.
I appreciate it. So I loved watching that video of making the character in such a amazingly accelerated pace. The tools that you use just in conjunction with each other, feeding into the other parts, but also adding that personal touch of being able to say like, oh, I love it, but there's just these little things that I wanted to tweak. That's always the part where, you know, I've understood that AI it's hard to get those little nitty gritty details, but I love seeing how you can like tell it like, hey, with even just these little blobs, like, hey, you know, I like it, but I would love it if there was a little bit of this color and this idea. My question is, are the videos that you showed here accessible anywhere outside of
Yeah,
this?
you can look on our YouTube channel. You can see. I'm happy to share them with you. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect.
We actually have little lessons, and we're good friends with the Invoke people. We're good friends with the Meshy people, the CSM people, the Rodan people. They all want us to, hey, give them the tutorials, let other people see how these tools work.
Awesome. Is it your workflow and all the different tools that you were using, is it all mostly one group that's behind it, or are they all put together in different?
So here's the secret. You have to change your tool set every 4 to 6 weeks. Well, we didn't have that problem in 1992. We had one tool set, and that was it for the next 3 years. You have to be adaptable, otherwise you're behind the curve, right? And like right now, I'm high on Notebook because it's got all the things I need to be a producer for my game design and everything. If there's another tool, I'm going to move all that out of Notebook to somewhere else, right? I'm looking for productivity and how fast I can get the results that I know are good quickly. That's how it is. So if you don't have the adaptability to change your tool set 4 or 5 times, don't use AI. Go back to Maya, go back to Blender, right? Do it by hand, because that adaptability is it's the constraint. You can't do it without changing tools.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hand that microphone off. Good.
So I was wondering, are you guys planning to do something for Unity? Because I'm not a programmer, I'm not a graphic designer and such. And have you guys tried making like the cutscenes and the story of the games with ChatGPT? Because I'm developing a top-down 2D horror game, and I pretty much use AI for pretty much most of it, like for like concept art as well as level mock-ups, because I'm not a graphic designer. But I was wondering, what do you say to the haters who go after AI in video game development? Because I've posted, when I first announced my game, I've gotten so much hate on TikTok and such. But what do you have to say to all the hate regarding the use of AI in the gaming industry?
You've got a few questions there, so I won't answer. I won't hog the microphone for every single one of them. You did ask about Unity. And for Druids, we are focused on Unreal Engine at this time. All of our backend, all of our agentic workflows are server-based. We will look at Unity at some point in the future, but we are currently focused on nailing the workflows in Unreal. The questions about AI, like attitude-wise, I can give my opinion. Okay, I think that I'll just use the term AI slop. I think that there's absolutely this fear by everyone, conscious and subconscious. There's a fear by all of us, and I mean like literally every single one of us in this room and outside this room, that AI is going to replace me. AI is going to take over my job. AI is going to eliminate my job. AI is going to just do anything that I'm good at right now. And so I think that when we're using AI, this fear is bubbling up in many, many, many different ways. And if you are getting backlash, then I think that if you really dig under that backlash, I think that you'll find that there's some element of that fear, and that this is how it's manifesting itself. I would like to put forth the concept that I think that I've heard quite a lot, that people have talked about AI as an end-to-end solution. And I think that that's not quite hitting the mark. I think AI is a middle-to-middle solution. And what I mean by that is even before we had AI tools, so in order to do anything that you want to do, Like you're making a game. I want to make this character. I want to make this game feature. You have to want what you want first. So you are the first in no matter what. Even if you want AI to just do it, you are still at least the first end of what you're doing. You have to want what you want. The middle to middle is the doing it. The end is the result of, even if you just have an idea of, hey, I want to make this character of this guy with a fur cloak across his middle, then even if you have that solidly in your mind, you still have to do it. And when you look at it, that is not going to be exactly what was in your mind. And you have to evaluate that result, and you have to change it. You have to modify it. You have to make it better. So you are the end also. You're the end and the end. The middle to middle is a slog. If you don't have AI, if you don't even have a tool that does that thing, then you have to do all this stuff in the middle. Now, with AI, it's just another tool, and you can use AI to do all of that middle to middle, or you could use AI to do this part of this middle to middle, this part of this middle to middle, this part of this middle to middle. And when you get the result at the end, you look at it and you say, is that what I wanted? If it's not, then you go back around and you do it again. So I think that fear of AI is somewhat misplaced. And I think that will soften over time as we see that we're all still here. We're all still making games. We're all still making art. We're all still making music. AI is just another tool in the toolbox. So that's my
thing to Chris about user sentiment.
Yeah, I can't help you with civil discourse on the internet, but if you do encounter one of these people like in real life, I would certainly try and ask them, what is it about your use of AI that they are taking issue with? And hopefully there can be a constructive conversation. And at the end of the day, get to be like, you have a vision of a game you want to make and you're making it. More broadly, obviously, we looked at, our audience and said, okay, they're not going to like completely generated content. So I took the stance as a business person of like, all right, well, what can we use these tools to be more efficient at? So we largely looked at the existing workflows of engineers and artists and said, well, what can be sped up? In the case of art, which is probably the most sensitive area of AI, right? Because really people have an emotional response to this was crafted, this is eliciting an emotion when I look at this piece of work. Early on in my career, mood boards were made by going to the library and ripping out pages from books, right? And you go into any concept artist room and the walls would be plastered with pages torn out from book. Then it became Google image search, right? And you print it out and you have it on the wall. So we've used image generation to elicit a mood, and we're not copying it. It's just like, what's the vibe, right? So and that is like an evolution of an existing process. It's not new. It's just a new tool. For engineering, it's replaced Stack Overflow for me, right? Like when I don't remember how to do an algorithm that I learned ages ago in college, I don't have to look that up anymore. Or if I'm writing an inspector in Unity, for example, it'll pretty much do that for me. And I'm like, I don't really want to write inspector code. That's not what's fun for me. What's fun for me is like getting with a designer and solving a juicy problem and getting the hit timing right. And so it allows me more time to do what I love. That was kind of rambly. I don't even know if I answered your question anymore, but hopefully give some context.
Hi, I have a question for Justin. Trajectory looks really cool, and something that I think a lot of developers struggle with is getting signal and understanding whether the signal's going to actually have a trajectory like peak or something similar. So I was wondering, with trajectory and what you've learned, how much signal do you generally need before it actually starts being quite useful to use? Like, do you need a certain number of wish lists or a number of social posts? Or do you even need an analog game? Like with Peak, would you have used Getting Over It or Repo or Lethal Company? Or if you didn't have those analogs, would it still be able to generate as solid predictions?
So I'm going to answer your question, but like I'm going to kind of back up because unfortunately the answer is it depends. And every game and every genre and every team is different. So one of the things we do is we take the Steam page, but from there, like some game companies have come to us and said, we don't even have a Steam page. We're a concept stage. We're like, okay, well, just mock up a store page. Even if you don't have the screenshots, go ahead and do that. We'll run it through the model. And so we've done that. and we can start to see then what the sensitivities are. And so, we've done this enough now where we see certain genres have different sensitivities. And some are like, it's all about the review score. And it's really kind of tough when you talk to a dev team and you're like, yeah, you just have to make a good game. It's like, duh, well, thank you. You didn't add much value to that. But we've had other times where it's come up where it's like, hey, this genre, and this is what interests me the most is like, I used to be I was the CEO of Fig, the founder there. And then we had a game called Kings and Castles. And we raised like $100,000 for it. And it went on to also make like 30, 40 million. And we're like, what the heck just happened there? But it was a building sim that had the look of Minecraft, and it just resonated with people. There wasn't anything that existed like that in the market. And so one of the things we started to do is like when we started up, we were like, okay, we're gonna take game by game and figure out like, what is the potential reception for this game? Because what we do is predict review scores, and then we use the box lighter method to figure out what potential sales are. So somebody else asked us, was like, well, what if you turned it on its head and now you looked at the whole landscape and figured out where the biggest potential were for games. And so we did that. We actually we ran all 10,000 games that are coming to Steam. We put them all through the model. We rank ordered them. And then we figured out like the ones that had the most potential were actually, we gave them a blue ocean score, and they were operating in between these different genres that hadn't existed before. And so I think a little bit circling back around to your question, one thing I think we would like to start using it for, and developers have approached us with, is like, hey, can you tell us where we should aim our efforts so that when we do this labor of love and make this game, we have the biggest chance to actually have a market. So does that answer it? Okay, awesome.
Back here. Yes, I know I have a very loud voice. I like the approach that you had to the last question asked by this gentleman here. The idea of it being middle to middle. Something I wanted to put forth about, I guess, haters or something, is that for a lot of smaller developers, it's allowed people to actually get closer to their vision without spending hours and hours looking at various tutorials, going down YouTube hellholes, and trying to search through Stack Overflow to a question you had last week. And there's also not going to be a person you have to listen to an idea or think about how to code it at 2 a.m. when you wake up with a really cool idea. So that's not something you're going to encounter often. But my question to all of you is, it wasn't just a ramble. My question to all of you is, you guys have developed specific AIs to help you do things that are a lot easier within the environments that you're supporting. And something that I use it for is to help me learn how to do these things in addition to doing them. So is there any way that your platforms can support that for an intern? Not necessarily just doing the action, but helping them potentially learn how to do the action, so they have to ask less questions.
I am glad you asked. One of the struggles that we have with Druid Sage is it can do anything. This is what I showed you was very product focused, like snap, like show something flashy. We are actually going after academia heavily, because Druid Sage is an excellent in-editor AI or expert at Unreal tutor. And so when what we have found for ourselves even is that Sage is in your editor and you just say, how do I? We have a user right now that seems to be a designer and is wading into blueprints, doesn't seem to be an expert at writing blueprints. And this user is using Sage to step-by-step write a maze generator using blueprints. And it just does it. It just answers your questions. Like a really, really specific thing that when I'm looking at an animation state machine, there's a node that can select an animation pose based on either a bool or an int. For some reason, I don't have to do it. This is something that I do like one time every 3 months or 6 months or whatever. I can't remember what the name of the node is. I can just ask. Like I can go Google that, yeah, and then I can divert my attention and my time to go reading like various Google pages, or I can just ask Sage, hey, what is the name of that node that does that thing? Another feature, I didn't show you all of the features of Sage. Another feature that Sage has is we're reading your blueprint context. So if you are looking at your blueprint like an event graph, or if you're looking at a function graph, we are reading what those blueprint nodes are, and we're reinterpreting that into an AI-friendly format. And so you can just ask Sage, what does, and Rick mentioned this, what do these nodes do? You can read it yourself, yes. I can read the code, the logic flow myself, but if I can just get the summary, then that's faster for me. That doesn't preclude me from reading it myself, but it's just faster. It's more information for me to understand what I'm doing. If you are looking at this event graph that's supposed to open a door, if my door isn't opening, I wrote this and it's all the logic is there. There's my timeline, there's my lerp, there's my set rotator, and it's just not opening. If I ask Sage, why isn't my door opening? Sage can look at all the details and then go, your lerp is taking rotation start and rotation start as A and B. You should use rotation end. If I did this for real, I don't see it. I literally don't see it because I just assume that it's correct and I just keep looking over that little detail, but Sage can help me like knock my brain onto the right track and see that. If I say then, how can I make my door open more slowly? Then Sage can say, well, hey, you should scale the alpha value out of your timeline differently. And I could say, well, I don't want to do that. And then it could say, you can open if you say that to Sage, then it'll say, well, something different. Like it'll say, hey, you can double click on your timeline and you can open the timeline and you can expand the time. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Then, it can just keep suggesting things to you, and it can say, oh, well, if you drag off the timeline pin, then you can set your playback rate to something different. Oh, that's the way I want to do it. So the idea of, again, I'm just going to re-express the idea that, hey, I don't need to know anything and AI can just do everything. I don't think that's, for me, that's not valuable. I think that the idea that AI can give me the information that I need so that I'm better, I think that that's magic.
Thank you. I can also say that my career is as an SDET, and my idea is supposed to be that I enjoy finding those little things, and I'd much rather you use AI. Because the entire idea of testing is to sit as close to the designers as possible. So that way you don't have to deal with those fucking errors in the first place. Right. So yeah, use AI for that, people. I also wanted to say thank you very much for giving me that answer, because that also confirms a lot of what I've been thinking in my own uses of AI to make my own little vertical slice. It's not everybody has the time. Not everybody has thousands of dollars to get into DigiPen or an interest in Calc 2. So it's really good to have this thing that can save you tons of time. So thank you for telling me how it does that.
One of the use cases at Noctua, kid fresh out of school, UO, he's our intern, basically. When he puts a blueprint together, he says, is this going to cause a bug? And he gets 14 things he needs to fix before he checks his code in and doesn't create a bug. That, for a producer, I'm in. Do that all day long. Now the other two senior engineers are doing the same thing. Why am I adding these nodes? Can I remove any of these nodes from this blueprint? It knows, right? There's other ride-along tools we're not going to mention that do similar things, but there's going to be multiple ride-along tools in that engine for everyone to excel. My theory is you still need to make a fun game in either Godot or Unity or an Unreal. If you're going to build your own engine, don't use AI. Take 35 years, spend $120 million, go write your own engine, and you invented the new stochastic renderer, good for you. But if you just want to make a game, go use one of the engines, get your game out there faster with less people and better. That's kind of the answer of why AI works for us. So
I agree.
next.
All right, this is from my teammate. So he would like to know if AI is used to balance difficulties, identify pitch points, and ways to improve engagement with games and existing mechanics.
So you're talking about gameplay evaluation of like, why are all my people not making it past level 3? Is that what you mean by pinch points?
Yeah, or like
You could ask it to evaluate things, but that's a gameplay.
it's more. I guess it would be more on the trajectory side.
You can use tools like trajectory or cohesion to find out what your users are saying, but actually looking at the game, knowing what to fix, that's why you need gameplay engineers.
Yeah. So one of the things we have done for some of our clients is we will do a forecast, a trajectory forecast, and we do it before they've even announced the game with the mocked up store page. And then one of the most valuable things we'll get is comps. And like one of the reasons, like when I first came in this, I was very skeptical. You could use AI to be predictive because it's so derivative. And so I was like, hey, it won't have ability to figure out what the next big hits will be. Like there's too much content risk. The reality is that it really removes all the bias from all the human bias that we have. And so when we get comps for games, it's things that you wouldn't think of. And then you go and you check those games out, and sometimes we found out, like, we're like, oh my God, hey, that concept that you just had, somebody launched it 10 years ago and it didn't do anything. So you never heard of it. And so you didn't use it as a comp, but now you know that it exists. And then the other side is like, well, the people give us aspirational comps. So the developers are like, I want to be like this game. And so now what we're able to use AI to do is like, we're like, hey, you're not hitting that trajectory. But what we can do is go through all the reviews of that game and see what people really liked. And that's what those tornado charts are. And it goes, and then we can actually like tell it to go down a level deeper and look at the comments and start grouping them together and gather them. They're like, so if you make these changes to your game based on these other ones that have already come out, then now we'll rerun the forecast and see if it'll make a difference. Just so you know, sometimes it doesn't. Because it's like, hey, Call of Duty exists, and if you're trying to take on Call of Duty, good luck, right? Because those gamers are going there. But sometimes, like with Peak, you can see that, like, you know, hey, if you make a great game, it will sell insanely well.
I was just curious, was the question around trajectory more about like sales or more trajectory of like gameplay, like people are churning out after level 3?
The trajectory is deeply.
I can comment what a feature that Sage has right now that you could use for this type of analysis that I think that you're asking. We have another feature of Sage called Sage Documents, and we developed this feature because people were asking us to be able to ingest their GDD, their game design document, but it is a generalized document feature. So if you gathered the data of, like, let's say you have telemetry or analytics hooked up, and you gather the data of what users are doing, and you create that into a document, although we haven't made a specific feature for real-time analysis, if you documented it and then put it into Sage, then you can ask for an analysis of that data and it'll just handle it really quickly. We know from experience that we can handle like a 50-page document and it just reads it, summarizes it, analyzes it, answers any questions you have like this. Off of that idea, a next feature that we're working on is to be able to take Unreal's performance data, because it's just a wall of text when you get your performance data. Preliminary tests, prototypes and tests that we've done is that we have just taken the insights data that Unreal dumps out and then said, on this level, what are my performance problems? And then it says, hey, your draw calls are too there are too many actors in your scene, there are too many draw calls, your shaders are too complex, and it's able to just quickly give you a summary. So if you're able to datatize what you just said, then that is something that you could ingest now. And if you come at us and say, I need more features like this, great. Then, that gives us a heat map of then, hey, we have 100 different areas of focus that we want to do next, and we've got to do them one at a time. But this is certainly something we could handle into.
This question back there.
Sure. My question is around AI's problem right now feels like a sentiment or a branding problem more so than anything. It rolled out, it's created a bunch of discussion and problems therein. And my question is a little bit maybe more directed towards Chris, because you talked a little bit about Gen Z here. And for context, I'll explain. My wife is a professor. She teaches writing. So that's like the forefront of kids exploiting these tools to either get to a better quality product or save time or whatever. And so every single student she has now coming in at like 18 to 20 years old, these like, I don't know, Gen Z-ish people, they all use it. And I don't disagree with your statement about authenticity matters. You can talk to anyone at TikTok in particular on, hey, what makes those videos go? It's the authenticity. My question is more around, hey, what do we think the tipping point is where that sentiment changes? Like there have been times like this when animation moved from traditional animation to 3D animations, the same sort of rage from artists in particular came out. Is there something that you guys are seeing or you think is going to happen where some of that tipping point happens where we can do either more of the front or more of the back of game development without having people immediately downvote our games on Steam? Yeah, I mean, if we had the answer to this question, I think that'd be, a source of lots and lots and lots of income. For me, the way that I view this is we might start seeing game companies themselves being not just, hey, we produce a game, but we are a brand. So what we're selling is not just the game, we're selling how we produce games and that we are authentic and that we have a look or a vibe. And we're in late stage capitalism. So of course, the end of that is more monetization. But I think there might be a bifurcation where it's just like, okay, yeah, these games are fun. They're more, this has a negative connotation, but junk food games, hey man, I love a Big Mac as much as the next guy, but it's not what I think of as gourmet, but it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't crave that. And so we might have this bifurcation of like, oh, we've got these bespoke studios that are selling almost like a lifestyle of like, oh, this is handcrafted, it's artisan, versus like, yeah, sometimes I just want to go and just mess around for a little bit. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I certainly could see that with this desire for authenticity, but also just the mechanics of producing games is really expensive, and there's only going to be room for so many like, Swiss watch equivalents of game studios versus Casios.
Hi. Yeah, I'm loving this talk. Thanks for coming. For Jesse, my name is Matt. I'm a producer. I worked on Batman Arkham Shadow, Iron Man VR, several other larger games. And I'm very curious now that I'm looking at making a game myself.
Yep.
What are like the user stories that you have for this tool as far as like the experience you're expecting the user to have in order to interact with it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, my son is interested too in making his own game.
Yes.
Is it basically just come down to how much time do you have to learn this because it's going to teach you, and how much interest do you have to stay engaged in the complex things that are involved? It's kind of the core of it.
So your question is about the user being the game developer and
yeah.
Sage.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're asking about what is the user experience of using Sage?
Yes. Kind of like, what is your goal for the level of experience of a user of Sage, like for what they could achieve with it?
Okay, so the one user that we have is seems to be a. Let me see if I can remember this, guys. Sorry. These are really great hearing aids, by the way, but they're also connected to my phone, and I think I said the S word in there somewhere accidentally. So this user that I'm picturing looks to have no experience in Unreal and is just like, how do I? And so your question of like, what experience level do we expect? It's quite easy. None at all. And by the way, we are in free open beta if you go to druids.ai, you can just test fire us for yourself right now. You sign up. We are an Unreal editor plugin. You can drop it into your project. We'll give you a key and let you use it for free. When you do that, our experience, as you saw on the videos, is that we have the Druids as just a button in every single toolbar. And so if you or your son, hey, I want to dig in and like, let's say your son, I've never used Unreal before, maybe, and you just want, what can this AI tool do for me? Well, you install Unreal, you open it. Now, your typical path for this type of person is go to YouTube and you follow a 1 hour video. And then what do you get out of that? You get a little bit of knowledge, but you get exactly what this person did. And maybe you learn some stuff residually, or maybe you don't, or maybe that's not exactly what you wanted to do. And you just spend an hour of time just following these steps. You can still do this. With Sage, you can also just open Unreal and start poking buttons, but you can also just click the Sage button and then just, another just minor feature that we have is suggested prompts. I don't know if you caught that in the video, but they're just these buttons. Every time you ask a question, we're trying to guess what you might ask next. And if you just want to do it, hey, choose your own adventure, you can just hit the suggested prompt button and guide you towards what you might want to ask. And the step back from all of this, just philosophically, anytime I'm trying to plan something out, anytime I'm trying to like think about, what I'm going to make and how I'm going to make it, action is always the answer for me. Do something. And if you do something, maybe you're not going to get the answer that you exactly were looking for, but you're going to get an answer and you're going to get more information about what to do. So what can Sage do for you? Just use it. And then you come back and let us know.
I'd love to do that. Awesome. I love telling this story. 15 years ago, if you wanted to make your own album in your own basement, you had to buy a digital audio workstation. You had to spend a lot of money, right? You can go to your basement with your brother, download a free digital audio workstation, and you can write an album that wins 4 Grammys if you're Billie Eilish good, right? We're at a watershed moment for indies. Everything is free. I can get Unreal for free. I can get Druids for free. I can get art. I can buy all the art for my game for $400 from the Fab store, and I can go create. If you want to make a good game, you got to be Matt good, right? And that's where we're getting back to. We're getting back to the function of make a great game in the tool that you're using, and these are just accelerators for you. That's kind of how I look at it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think we're out of time. I think we could have talked about this for 300 more years, but go use Notebook, go use Druids, go use Invoke. Try these things out, right? In real things that you really want to go do. I need to go make a texture. Don't do it by hand. Go use 5 different AIs. Learn how to accelerate yourself. Thank you for your time.
Apply this, whatever.
Yeah, and there's links in the things. You can add us in LinkedIn. We'd be happy to do it. The Applied AI Association would love to have you guys join our Discord server to learn about use cases and workflows and things like that. So, yeah, we didn't bring any propaganda. We just wanted to talk about how we're using AI. So I hope this was helpful.